my book as well, The Visionary Brand. Number 2 is Patagonia. What I say, building success as environmental activism. And the visionary gap that Patagonia saw is in the 1970s outdoor industry. Companies talked about loving nature while contributing to its destruction through wasteful practices and disposable products and prioritizing profit over planet. So Yvon Chouinard, and if you haven't read Yvon's book, I would highly encourage you to read his book. It was awesome. Yvon Chouinard, the founder of Patagonia, saw the gap. The outdoor industry should be leading environmental protection, not just profiting from people who love the outdoors. Notice in his positioning, the gap that he saw wasn't a product, right? It was a cultural change. So what is Patagonia's narrative engine? We're in business to save our home planet. That was their positioning. That's their narrative. Not, we make the best outdoor gear. That's bullshit. That doesn't mean anything to anybody. Everybody makes great. Mountain Hardware makes great product. Columbia makes great product. That's not a point of difference. We're in the business to save our home planet. So we make the best outdoor gear. That's not a positioning statement. You're not quality products for outdoor enthusiasts, but a mission statement that could easily be seen as bad business. So how did they apply the visionary principles I outlined in the book, which I have profiled them as well? And this comes from Chronicle 3. It's called the mirror test. And you all should listen to this and have a little bit of introspective on your own brand here when I talk about this. Can they say their narrative with conviction? Meaning that it can't be bullshit. It has to be a narrative that you believe in and have a passion around. It has to be authentic, and it has to bleed through your entire company with passion. So can you say their narrative with conviction? And that is absolutely you can. And they prove it through actions that seem counterintuitive to most people. Don't buy this jacket. They actually had a campaign that said actively discouraging consumption of buying their jacket. Lifetime repair program, cannibalizing new sales. Why would you do that? Worn wearer program, selling used gear in competition with new products. And there's many brands that have adopted this. Arc'teryx has adopted this strategy. And donating entire company to environmental causes. Yvon, if you don't know, he actually donated his entire company to environmental causes, $3 billion. Put your money where your mouth is. And again, this is where many brands fall short on commitment. Suing governments over environmental policies. You know, these aren't just PR stunts, and you can't look at it that way when you're positioning your company and talking about the cause or the culture you're trying to build. These are business decisions driven entirely by a narrative. And the next is they had a consistent brand experience. And that was done through, number one, product design, recycled materials despite higher costs, durability over disposability. And I remember in working with Patagonia that this was a real cause for concern from a COGS standpoint, cost of goods sold standpoint, because of the limitation of the amount of material that was available. So they were a first mover on this. And as a result of that, others moved towards this. So when you're looking at positioning your company, being a first mover doesn't just mean positioning yourself and saying something you have a passion around. It's acting upon that. And that's what Yvon did, even at the detriment of his company. In his supply chain, he had a premium paid for sustainable manufacturing. So he could back up his claims with the product itself. And the next was their marketing. They were honest about the environmental impact, encouraging conscious consumption. And in their hiring practices, and this goes towards team, and passion. Hiring recruits who are environmental activists, not just retail workers. So not only did they have a passion around the positioning of Patagonia, they could talk about it. So others in the community could understand what Patagonia was doing and their point of difference and how they were different than every other brand out there. And customer service. They taught repair over replacement. So think of all the things Patagonia was discouraging their customer to do, is all built around the culture they were creating. Sustainable environment. Think of the balls you have to do all of these different things that Yvon was doing, but he had a passion around it. And it turned them into a multi-billion-dollar company that they were rewarded with, that they could then go out and extend the cause even further. And the next is architecture of disruption. What did they do? A few points with Patagonia is they created used gear marketplace, competing with new sales. Number two is they reduced product lines to minimize environmental impact. They shifted to regenerative organic agriculture for cotton despite the cost. The scale wasn't there. So we all know in product that you'll say, well, the scale's not there. It's a new product. How can we afford this? The innovators of our world, Yvon Chouinard, Phil Knight, Jim Gennard, they didn't care if it was their best-selling product. What they cared about was creating a culture that others could embrace. Products are a byproduct of a great culture. And they built supply chain transparency that reveals their own imperfections. Everybody makes mistakes, and it's great to be honest with people about those mistakes. And Patagonia was probably the leader in this. So most companies hide weaknesses. Patagonia exposes theirs to improve, get better. And the next is crisis navigation. Accused of greenwashing, increased transparency and raised standards, financial pressure, maintain environmental programs and environmental benefits, even though it wasn't in their best interest to do so. COVID disruption that everybody had to face. They protected employee well-being and environmental commitments. Even going through COVID, they didn't change their positioning. They didn't change their vision. They fixed environmental mission, quality standards, ethical practices, and they were fluid. Products offered, markets served, supply chain partners. They could change and adapt at any time. So what are the results that came out of this for Patagonia? Profitable business with intense customer loyalty. Customers just don't buy Patagonia. They identify with their mission. They'll pay premium prices. They'll defend the brand publicly. They'll recruit others. Why? Why do they do this? And why do you need to do this? Because the narrative is authentic. They passed every mirror test. So what can you extract from Patagonia on visionary principles that they adopted? Stand for something beyond profit and mean it. That's a challenge. I can tell you from working with leaders, visionary leaders, don't have a problem in doing this. Those that are just companies or commodity companies, they'll think you're crazy. Make business decisions that serve your narrative even when costly. Number three is be transparent about your imperfections and efforts to improve on these. People appreciate honesty. Ask yourself introspectively if a company came out and said honestly, these are things we're looking to improve, as opposed to hiding it, or what I call the ostrich syndrome, putting your head in the sand, and then when you come out, hoping things have changed. And the last is they attract customers who share your beliefs, not just who want your products. That is customer lifetime value, is building a community. It's not those that purchase your products, but those that understand the value that your company is providing to them. Now, the third company we'll talk about